Welcome into the Crypto Bunker podcast. And guys, hopefully you've been following my work. I put a lot of factors into it. And so even if I sometimes don't bring or know how to say all the things that I've been saying in one sort of concise way, I at least try to give you some of my thoughts around it. And I've been saying that this, you know, I was saying that that's the bottom on the daily of the gold Bitcoin ratio. And, you know, it really, I mean, you could just tell based on the chart that, and it's pretty cool that you can tell these things by charting. And I've been right a lot in the past couple months here. And I hope at least someone's getting value out of it. I feel like I don't have enough people who are subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, please do so below. I've been making correct calls about crypto and about precious metals and about markets, the Nasdaq, Amazon. Pretty much for the past couple months, and obviously a lot of it has to do with Keith McCullough of Hedgeye. I'm a subscriber to the Macro Show, and so he's given me a lot of insight into and just kind of put me over the edge to be confident in gold and confident in the Nasdaq going down, confident in Bitcoin and Ethereum being correlated with the Nasdaq, and they also go down because we are going into slowing growth, and we also have the Fed tightening, but we also have the possibility of a war that could break out any minute now, really, between Russia and Ukraine. And this was another reason, geopolitically, that I was trying to sound the alarm bells about Bitcoin in relation to gold in these times. And with inflation happening with goods and services, that's not good for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is more of a speculative asset that the public sort of buys in anticipation of returns, basically automatically. Gold is more of a hedge against, obviously things happening like wars, things happening in terms of inflation, monetary mistakes by the Fed, insurance against, your portfolio. And so it was a pretty cool thing to be able to rotate from Ethereum at 3,800 into gold at 1,800. And now to see those playing out is pretty interesting. But like what we can see here in the chart is that what we want to see now is we want to see a break above the 20 SMA and then a close. And that's what I think we'll have. We'll have a break above, a close, and then go. Now, the thing that will throw this all off, possibly this trade, it might not throw it off, but it might sort of cause an issue, is if the Fed now says, oh, well, there's a war with Russia, so we can't raise rates. Now, the funny thing is, I still think that the economy is going into slowing growth. And so they're in such a tough place. And that's kind of why a lot of us have speculated that something would happen like this with the war with Russia, or whether it was a cyber attack. I mean, this is the thing. If a war really does break out, Russia is more and more likely to pull a bigger cyber attack. I mean, they've pulled a couple cyber attacks recently, one in Germany in their oil supply facilities. And then today, I think actually Portugal was attacked across the financial institutions, possibly. You have to look that up, but that's what I'm seeing on my end. And so there's just a lot happening right now. And, so hopefully, again, you guys are prepared and, have some storable foods and some generator, maybe backup heating, whatever you think is necessary. You know, none of that what I say is financial or life advice, obviously, but um, yeah, like I said, I mean, I just thought this is the perfect sort of W bottom, and we're just going to continue up here. And my target, if you're looking to exchange back into Bitcoin, to be honest, is around 0.08 to zero point 0.1. And then for Ethereum, I want to see at least a 1-to-1 ratio, if not a 2-to-1. So say gold is at 2,400, I want to see ETH at 1,200, and that's when I would swap back, because I still do believe in the blockchain and not necessarily Bitcoin, but definitely Ethereum. I think that governments in the future will use Ethereum for central bank digital currencies, for settling contracts with each other. You know, there's many different, obviously, use cases for Ethereum, and we see them pop up every day. I mean, companies, I think pretty much every company now has said they're going to be hiring for crypto. We see all these companies who are hiring crypto positions, and then we also see people leaving Web3 to go and work in crypto. And so I think that's what these companies are seeing, and they're basically wanting them back in that case. You know, they're wanting those employees back, and so they're creating their own crypto positions so that they can keep the talent more than anything, really. Okay, so let's take a look at the dollar. The dollar is interesting here. And this is what again, another call of being long dollars, because when you're long dollars, you can buy more assets when assets go down. That's the whole point. So, you're not necessarily, and for me, it's not necessarily a trade against another currency, but it is a trade against the assets that I want to buy. And so, and I think I did go more long on like gold and silver in particular, on platinum, in comparison to dollars. But I did make sure that I had dollars, especially to pay taxes. Have a certain amount to do that. And that was sort of the main point of what I wanted to do with the dollars that I had. But yeah, so gold and silver is sort of acting as like my savings right now, and I'm comfortable with that. And yeah, and so we had a W bottom here. This is looking at it on the weekly. So obviously we had the 2020 crash here. I think we could revisit this trend line for sure. And that would be bad for some risk assets. I don't necessarily think it'd be bad with gold, although usually it is. I think right now, I think that with the fear that's playing out and sort of Russia being involved, and they love gold, it's about who owns the most gold when you're going through a crisis with countries. When you're sitting down at the table and you're negotiating, you want to have the most gold so that you can kind of be the big player in the room. And so Russia's been stacking gold, and so is China. The US is not, because we're dumb. And, I think that our reign over the world, really, I think, is coming to an end. And that might not be good for us. So again, this is why you have to own gold, because it's going against the dollar, but you're also going against, or you're going for, stuff like this happening with wars, or there's going to be a lot of changes in the next couple of years. And so even though we're out of the woods with COVID, we might not be out of the woods with a lot of these other factors that will be coming in. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in now, and we have to prepare and make adjustments. But I think we will get through it together as people. We have to form communities, get to know your neighbors, which I need to do. Just form communities around your neighborhood, and maybe get to know your local farmers, just things like that. Maybe volunteer at a farm, just different things like that you can do to sort of ensure that you're building a local community, because I think that's important. Let's take a look at the QQQs just as a general market sentiment here. And then we'll look at Bitcoin. But yeah, oh my, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, I said, this is what I said yesterday. I said, we went through the 200, we tested it, we rejected, we're testing again, and then we got rejected big time. And then that's what ensues for sure. If we lose these lows, again, these are the lines that I'm looking at around 200. That's just a long-term trend line, as you can see. But we're in a bubble. So usually when you're in a bubble, you come back down to the trend line. And again, the thing that would throw this off is if the Fed decides we're not going to hike rates now because of the war. I don't know if they'll do that or not. It's a very difficult time right now to, especially if they did that. I would again just want to be in gold, honestly. And I think that a lot of regulations are coming in for crypto. And so if the NASDAQ doesn't take crypto down, I think regulations and different things like Tether and different things that will come out that I think would take it down. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're sort of in this channel now. As you can see, this is the line we held for this entire time. We broke through. We didn't even really get back up to test it. All we did was test the 200, and then now we're going through. So yeah, if we do break that, there's not really another line I can draw. That maybe this one, that might actually be something. Because that takes like the top of this whole line here. And so that's kind of where we were getting resistance, break through, test back. So 300. Yeah, so 300 I think is fair. I think that's fair. I'm not sure when it'll get there. But yeah, let's take a look at Bitcoin here. And yeah, so we formed this part where like this is where we would have to break above. And right now we're testing on the hourly, the 200 day. We did have a bearish cross there on the hourly 20 SMA, and it went pretty far below. And I'll look at it on the weekly here because I think that's important. Yeah, so this is that trend line I drew before. As you can see, let's see if we get. Wow. Oh my. I didn't even see that candle. It looks so bad. Oh my. Okay, yeah. So that is a gravestone doji, big time. That is like you can barely even see that candle. It's so bad. And we got rejected right at the trend line, and it does not look good right now. So on the weekly, we also had this. Let's see if I can get this up. We also had a cross on this MACD, which again, we had a cross here on the MACD before this big crash. I believe we had a crash. Let's see if I can get this up. Yeah, we had a cross here. So it's really only crossed a couple times. And every single time it's crossed, we've had major corrections. So it crossed here. And again, it crossed here. So, we'll see what happens here. I'm not a big MACD guy, but I do follow Crypto Crew University. And he's saying that's potential for a major crash as well. And so if we put in this candle around this level here, where it's like 42,300 right now, and so if we close the week around those levels, I do expect the possibility to test the 200-day or 200-week moving average SMA. Definitely down here around 32 again. I think we'll head to these lows. If we can hold the lows, we might be able to bounce up and make this support around these levels we're at now. And then we go, so that just depends if the Fed raises rates. If the Fed does raise rates into a global slowdown and a world war, well, then we're definitely going to test the 200 week, which is like 20K. So, be prepared for that possibility of a 50% decline from here. I haven't really covered Ethereum in a while, honestly. I've just been focused on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is sort of a king still, and it's really a good thing to like chart in these situations. Oh my lord. Um, yeah, so Ethereum losing 3,000 there. I mean, I'm not surprised, but it just looks really, really bad. Ethereum is I think considered a big time risk asset, and so um, even more than Bitcoin for some. I think right now Bitcoin, might be catching a little bit of support as like a geopolitical sort of play, as we see sort of, uh, you know, as we see countries try to figure out how to get around the SWIFT system. But because Russia's kicked out of the SWIFT system now, and so, but in my opinion, again, I've seen a lot of people post bullish things about Russia and Bitcoin, and I just completely disagree. Um, from what I was reading, what they want to do, they want to tax Bitcoin heavily on every transaction and everything you do with it. They want to track transactions. They want to have you register with the banks, and track you for up to 5 years. Um, it's going to be illegal to hold Bitcoin outside of a bank, from what I was reading. So they're just going to use Bitcoin to make a bunch of money on taxes and fees that you use the banks for as intermediaries. And the banks then hold your assets. This is all like somewhat speculation, but it's also somewhat of what's happening. Like if you read the articles. So people who are saying that Bitcoin is like a geopolitical asset and they're mentioning El Salvador and Russia. El Salvador's bonds just got downgraded from a CCC to a B minus, because they're like borrowing money to buy Bitcoin as a country. It's like, oh Jesus. I mean, it just does not seem good. And so with them and MicroStrategy so leveraged, I think it just gets a little bit weird here if we get below 30K, which is like MicroStrategy's price. I don't know. I think their bonds are probably just downgraded at that point, and that's kind of like where it ends. But I think it's possible that they're, and like I think El Salvador's bonds are um rated like lower because their average price is higher. It's like 47,000. So yeah. So this is where we would want to hold support here for Ethereum. Let's look at it on the daily, I guess. Like Ethereum, it really took a dive here. I mean, it was looking better than I thought, better than Bitcoin, I think, on the ETH to Bitcoin ratio. But yeah, there's that sneaky trend line there. I mean, obviously it's a little bit above here, but we get these two coming in here. We get that, we get this, even that support there. So we kind of have enough touch points to make it legitimate, and part of me wishes I would have gone short on some of this, but I don't really do that. I've never really done it. I did actually just buy some puts, just like a little bit on a stock in the Nasdaq, um, but yeah. So we would want to hold here as this support. We kind of, we're right in the middle here. Let's look at the moving averages for ETH, because I am going to be buying more ETH with my gold at some point, and I want to know what we're looking at in the week in terms of the weekly. And this is why I've said like $1,000 ETH. That's kind of like what I'm thinking, because that's where the 200 is. So in a major sell-off, I think that Bitcoin, 200 weekly SMA would, 20K. If we get to 20K, then ETH probably is going to 1,000. So we'll see what happens, or I guess 1776 is that. But look at this. I mean, on the weekly, another thing that maybe some people missed, but we, we went through the 50-week SMA, and then we tested back up, and we're getting now rejected here. We got rejected. So there's always something to look for in these markets. And hopefully you guys got something out of the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video and have a great day.